Welcome, my lovely people. This little video goes with our Advent 12 Days of Christmas patterns. I'm releasing it on day one with everything all together, just so you can get on with stuff and it doesn't come out in little itty bitty tiddy bits. It's taken me a long time to put this together, so I didn't want to have too much fragmented bits in the video as well. Anyway, all the videos are together and there's a bit of a roundup at the end. What I want you to do is have fun. I'm hoping it all runs smoothly. Any problems, any questions, shoot me an email and I can do something, because you're all on my email list together. If I need a correction, I can do it for everybody. So December the 1st, let's make Christmas!
Down a little alley in the heart of Kendal town is a tiny independent yarn shop. Welcome to the wonderful world of the kitten and the goat.
This is our stocking. We're knitting the whole thing and then we're going to fold it in half to get the shape. So we start at the toe, you cast on, you knit a row to give you some space, and then we're going to suddenly increase to make the boot shape. It's fairly straightforward. You've done knit two together, knit front back before. This time you're going to do it in every stitch. So we're going to knit into the front, we're going to take this round and we're going to knit into the back, and you're going to do it right the way along. The thing is, relax. You might find it gets to be a little bit tight as you go along, but the next row will sort it out. You're doubling the amount of stitches to make the toe. Then you're going to work a few rows along, well, I suppose it would be the top of the foot, wouldn't it? Because we're going to fold it in half. And then you're going to decrease to make the boot shape, put the end on it and put the cuff on it. I just wanted to show you that yes, you can knit front back every single stitch to get your big increase. Okay, that's how you do that. Now we're thinking about the little heart. Same colour palette to match the set. There's only a couple of things to remember. We're increasing for the bump by finding the bar in between the two stitches and knitting into it. See if we can get closer on that. I want to do it the other side as well to match. Let's find that. This bar here between the two stitches, that is what you're going to knit into to make the rounded shape for the top bumps. Then you cut that off, well, you leave a long tail, cut it off, and then you're going to do exactly the same thing to make the other bump. So in good old Blue Peter tradition, here's one I made earlier. The only thing that you absolutely must remember when you're sewing across your bumps together is that you start with the yarn on the outside and go right across. Because if you work your last increase row here and then work across that, this, when you come back, is going to have one row too many on and it's going to be too long. It's going to look out of place. So make sure the yarn is on the outside, and then we're going to purl back just straight ordinary pearls like that, and there's no trick, there's nothing you have to watch out for. You do the first one like that, keep the yarn fairly tight, there's your first one, hang on to your tail for your first stitch and just keep going. Now the two pieces are joined together, and this is going to be your heart shape, like that. See how it's joined now? We'll sort all those tails out later. Don't have to just make this a Christmas decoration. You could just do one. You could do them in chunky, just do one in pinks, different coloured pinks, and make a Valentine's garland. How amazing would that look? Just a great big long string of different coloured hearts. Make them in rainbow hearts. Why not? Pastels for a baby's room. You can do all sorts of things with these patterns. Then you just decrease down to get the point. So that's all you need to know about your heart pattern. You do two, sew them together just through, a little bit of stuffing to make it padded, bit of decoration on the fronts, a few sequins, a few beads, bit of something sparkly. You could do them in stripes, you could do anything. That's your heart pattern. Just as a little side note, I thought I'd show you this. If you do end up where you've got your two bumps and you've got them in the wrong place, you need to be knitting right across here, but you can't, because it's not quite right. If you're worried about it, all you do is you want a cable needle or a safety pin or a skewer, something like that. Slip your needles, your stitches onto your carrier. Physically put them in front of where you need to be going, and there you are. You've got the yarn at the outside, and you can go straight the way across, complete the line, and carry on down for the point. Just, where's the other one that I've just finished? There's the other one that I've just finished. There. Okay, that's the heart. We're moving on to our mitten. The mitten is done in a very similar way that you would a mitten in real life. We're going to grow a little bit before we add the thumb part. So it's called knitting a dart. We're going to knit front back there. Don't worry, it gives you all the measurements in the pattern. Knit front back there, and then we're going to purl on the way back, and then we're going to be growing another stitch on these two, and purl the way back, and then growing another stitch on the outer two, so you get a bit of shaping before you break out for the thumb. So we've worked our little increases, and now we're going to take off for the bit where we want the thumb to stick up. So we're going to knit along, and then the pattern says slip 8 stitches onto a holder. You're going to need some kind of holder. If you haven't got a plastic stitch holder like this is, an old safety pin will do. If you're absolutely desperate, you can thread a needle with a piece of yarn and put a temporary yarn loop through them. But we just need to hook off 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches, and then we do that up. These are really good because they don't have anything to catch and snag the yarns. I use them for all sorts of things. Then we're going to do an increase there, and we're going to knit to the end of the row. This bit that we've just taken out of the work is going to become the thumb. When we work our way back, normally you'd replace the stitches, but this isn't a real mitten, so it doesn't matter. When we work our way back, just keep going. Just go straight along, don't worry about a gap. And then we're going to come back and work this into a piece for the thumb. This gets folded in half, your little thumb sticks out, and it's just a cute little pretend mitten shape. Okay, that's not too bad. There's only one little thing that you need to be aware of when we're making our Christmas tree shape. It's something we haven't done before. We're going to change colour in the middle of the row. So we're going to cast off just as you normally do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is actually how all these are produced. It's only casting off at the end. Now we're going to take a contrast for his trunk. I've used this really dark brown because we're going to wrap it round and I want you to be able to see it. So leave a long tail and just start. We're going to knit fall. 1, 2, no, wait a minute, I've missed it. 1. What you do is you're going to carry this white over the top of the brown, knit another brown, because we need this white at the other side here to cast off. We're going to just swap that over there to, see, you can see where it's twisting up there. Take it over the top like that. It carries it along the back of the work. I mean, this is going to be the inside. This is the back of the work. It's going to be the inside if you make tree decorations. But that's all you want from that. And you're going to drop that brown. And then you're going to cast off to the end. Now, there's not much you can do about that first white stitch. So, we're not going to worry about it. It's a Christmas tree decoration. The world won't end. There we go. I'm going to cast off along the way to there, like you do. Loop through to finish. Now I like to leave long tails because if I'm sewing two together and I've already got the yarn as part of it, then there's no knot. It's softer and flatter on there. So there you've got your tree trunk in the middle, and all you do is you go back and you work for your tree trunk. like that. When you sew the two together, I would stuff the tree, but I wouldn't sew his little tree trunk. When you sew them together, use this to hide that white stitch. There's nothing you can do about it, it's just where you've changed colour. But there's nothing on the front, and you can just see where that crossover of the yarn has carried the white to the other side so we can cast off. And then you keep going for your tree trunk. Okay? This is your construction of your star. You're going to make 6 little points, and then we're going to knit them together in a straight line all across the top for the centre. Now, it's really important that they all end up in a line together on the same needle. And there's a little trick for that. On one of the needles, place a marker, row counter, Sharpie colour pen, and I'll put an elastic band on the end, just on one of them. And when you cast on, always cast on the one that's got the marker on. And then you will have them all in a line so that you can just work along to join them together, and you'll be able to create your star. There's nothing more frustrating, especially when you've got a lot of them like this, than having to go back and turn them round and sort them out and get them in the line. And then it's simple. There's no magic when you join them together. Just knit along, keep going, knit them, pick the next one up. It's quite a handy little pattern, this. I mean, bunting for a doll's house. You don't have to make the star. Think outside the box. So that's your little star. I'm going to go and finish the centre, and then I can take the photographs for the pattern. Right, I'll see you with the next one in a minute. And for our little jumper, we're going to put a cable up the front. Very simple. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's knit 5. Take a cable needle or similar. Slip the next 2 stitches onto that. Take it to the back. Hold it at the back there. Knit those 2 stitches. Put those... Oh dear, pardon the people in the street. Knit the next 2 stitches. Then we're going to slip those 2 to the front of the work. Hi, 2 seconds, do you mind? We're going to knit 2 stitches. Welcome to my customers, you end up on all sorts of places. We're going to put that back on the work, and then we're going to knit to the end of the row. Hang on, let's have another little bash at that, shall we? See if we get another customer coming in. See that? Can you see that tiny little cable pattern in the front? So we're going to work 1, 2, 3, 4. Slip the next 2 stitches onto a spare needle. Keep them at the back of the work. We're going to work 2 stitches. We're going to put these back on there, and we can work those 2. Okay, Then we're going to take the next 2 stitches, going to take it to the front of the work, 1, 2, we're going to put those back on there, 1, 2, and then we're going to knit to the end of the row. There's your dinky little cable. You then work a plain row of purl, plain row of knit, plain row of purl to space out where you're twisting over. You can, of course, just work a totally plain jumper. You can work in small stripes. You can work in big stripes. I think I might put different coloured arms on these. Go wild with the ugly Christmas jumper vibe. You know, it's just so much fun to make these cute little jumpers. I'm going to finish this now. Do we need to think? I don't think we need to look at how the neck's done. No, that's easy enough. Make the sleeves. Okay, I'll show you a picture of it when it's all finished. So let's have a look at starting off. This happens to be where I've cast off. If you're starting on a seam that hasn't got a tail already, I like to run that through from about there and leave the tail there so that it works back and secures itself. I don't like to put a little knot in it, but we have to make sure these ends go exactly together, and what you want to do is kind of a figure 8 loop on the end so that you catch both ends tight together. This is much easier to sew with than that great big thick one. And again, finger underneath. This is only a little tree decoration, so it doesn't need much. Let's bring that through there. It doesn't need much, it's just need a few stitches to secure it. You need your stitches closer together if you're working on the side seam of a jumper, obviously, because it's going to be around you and it's going to be pulled and stressed. But there, that finger underneath is keeping it flat. It's helping you put the needle through. I always go the same way. Underneath on the edge, lace along. You might be able to see as it's fairly quick. But there, look. You see there's no seam inside. There's no bumps and there's no lumps. Let's find something else. We're having a little look at our sweetie cone now. Some of you may have never changed a colour before. This one's a really good one to start because it's worked in stripes, so the colour change always comes on the end. You haven't got anything in the middle to worry about. And the pattern will say purl all across row, break yarn A, which is what I've just done. I've purled across there and I've cut yarn A. The next row says with yarn B, and in this case I'm using this as yarn B, knit across the row. So start it, pretend it's joined to that. The only thing to watch out for is that you don't yank on that and pull it, because this first stitch is loose. Do not forget that first stitch is loose. So hold it tightly and knit. And that's it. You've joined in a new colour. Work your way along. Oop, there's Eddie joining in. Yep, Eddie says when you've worked a little way along the row, you want to secure it. Now, all you're going to do is to tie them in a single knot. I don't want any lectures about joining them without a knot and splitting yarns and all that. This is the end of the row. That will hold it tight. Leave them long, and then what you do is when you join the cone together, you've got all the right colours in the right places to sew across to join it. Okay, that's your first little bit of collie work. This pattern does work. You might think it's a bit weird and does funny things. Follow each row logically, doing what it says, and it will make the pattern for you. The other thing we're going to do with our little sweetie cone is make a fancy border along the top as we cast off. It's not difficult. You just may never have seen anything like this before. So we're going to cast on 2, trust me, 1, 2. Then we're going to cast off 5. 1, 2, keep it fairly tight into where the gap is, 3, 4, we've cast off 5. Then we're going to put that stitch on there, and we're going to cast on 2. We're going to cast off 5. 1, 2, that's what you've just cast on. Keep it tight across that gap. 3, 4, 5. You see the little bobble starting to develop? We'll do it once more. Put your stitch on that needle. We're going to cast on 2. Then we're going to cast off 5. 1, 2. Keep it tight across the gap where you've cast on. 3, 4. Oops. 4, 5. I'm going to put that back on there. Now let's have a look. Can you see how you're making little lacy loops? You could put a contrast cord through those. You can just leave it plain. It just makes a little bit of an interesting border around the top of your sweetie cone. Sorry, I'm thinking about the cane holders I'm going to be making next. See, that's all you need to know. small enough where they won't overdose on sugar and candy, but big enough so they'll get a bit of something. And you can use it for other things too. I mean, it's big enough to put perfume, toiletries, any little trinket in. Okay, let's get on with the next one. Onto our holly leaf. This is a very simple cheats way of making a holly leaf. It's knitted in a straight line with the prickles put in, and then we're going to fold it up. So we do 4 rows of stocking stitch. There's 1 pattern row. Very, very simple. We knit a stitch, we bring the yarn forward, we knit 2 together. You bring your yarn forward, you knit 2 together. Yarn forward, knit 2 together, and just carry on till the end of the row. And then I'll show you, it makes a little hole there. Then you work 4 more rows of stocking stitch, and I'll show you the trick to fold it up to make it. There's a really neat little trick where you can cast off the cast on row and the normal cast off row together. It saves you sewing them together, and it puts a nice little seam up the middle of the leaf to give you a pretty pattern. Technically, I think it's called a blind bound hem. I use it occasionally to finish the edges of jumpers. But you put your needle through your cast on edge, and then through your first stitch, yarn round, knit your first stitch, and then take the yarn through the cast off edge. Okay, you put your yarn through the needle through the cast off edge, through the stitch you're casting off, round, through there, then take the casting on edge over as well. Okay, so you've got your 2 stitches. That starts your cast off row. So from the front, put your yarn through the cast on row, through the stitches you're casting off, round, through the stitch and off. I tend to use the point of the needle to pull the cast on row over because it can be quite difficult, and then cast off as you would normally. Work your way along the row until you've joined them together in a line. There we go. It does actually make a nice vein pattern down the centre. Don't worry if it doesn't quite match up, you know, it's a leaf. It's not the end of the world. And then you fold it in half, that nice pattern, and you use one end to sew that together. When you start, make sure you leave a long tail. It does make a note of it in the pattern, because then you can use this bit to secure them together. You make 3 leaves, put them together in a cluster, 4 little red buttons on. There you go, you've got a little brooch. Put them on a hat, hang them on the tree. Great fun. Right, on to the next one. There, my beautiful people, that's given you a quick little run through of all the various different patterns. I haven't given you a run through of the cracker, or had it somewhere, put it somewhere safe, the candy cane holder, because it's exactly the same technique as used in the holly leaf. Don't forget, this is double knitting. This is your pouch, your little sweetie cone. If you make that in super chunky on 9mm needles, it will come out much bigger. Amazing sneaky little gift bag, something like that. These patterns are so usable all through the year. I've given you lots of suggestions on the individual patterns, what to do with them. Also to come at the end, there's a couple of larger projects for you. I haven't done a run through of those. As always, if you get stuck, sorry, I'm keeping one eye on the door because I always get interrupted. As always, if you get stuck, if you've got any queries, just shoot me an email, kittenandgoat@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you. I haven't tried to make it too over heavy and complicated for you, and I've put the video out straight away because it's all in one long bundle together. I really hope you like this little series. This has taken me 3 months to put together. There isn't a free download project this month because I've been overloaded with this, seriously. If there's anything I've missed, if there's anything that doesn't work, let me know so that when I look at it again next year, I can change things up for you. So my darlings, you have a lovely Christmas. Enjoy the rest of December, and I'll see you next year. This little video is brought to you as part of our virtual knitting circle. If you join our email list, every month you will get a free knitting pattern pop through your email box, and that's it. You don't have to do any further action. You get a free pattern. I also upload on YouTube a little walkthrough of the pattern, various little tweaks, twiddles and things you might need to know to make it easier for you. And a fortnight later you get a technique video, usually builds on what we've just made, or it might be I discuss a design feature or something like that, just to build your knowledge bank and help you. If you want to go on and buy the kit, that's fantastic. It's all on the website. We have a website. If you want to buy yarns and wools from us, we'd be exceedingly grateful. We are a tiny little independent knitting shop doing the best to help you knit. See you soon.